I watched a bulldozer crush my $5 million lakefront mansion while the HOA president smiled and sipped champagne. That's not hyperbole. That's Tuesday morning, 9:15 a.m. standing barefoot in my driveway, still in boxer shorts, watching strangers demolish the boathouse my dying grandfather built with his own hands. The same boathouse where my late wife and I carved our initials 30 years ago. The same one I just spent 6 months restoring in her memory. The crime I owed the HOA $300. $300. Vivica Drummond, HOA president, spray tan tyrant, professional clipboard warrior, stood 50 feet away recording it on her iPhone. That Starbucks iced latte sweating in her manicured hand. She wanted me to see her enjoying this, wanted me broken. Here's what she didn't know. I didn't just own that house. I owned the dirt under her entire neighborhood. And I was about to make her regret every second of this. Drop your state below because I know you've got HOA horror stories, too. My name is Maxwell Cordell. Max to anyone who isn't trying to serve me legal papers. 52 years old, former structural engineer, the kind who designs cell towers that don't fall over in hurricanes. I sold my patents 4 years ago, retired early, and thought I'd spend my golden years doing absolutely nothing stressful. Then my wife Lillian died. Cancer. 18 months of watching the strongest person I'd ever known fade into someone I barely recognized. The kids, both grown, both living their own lives on opposite coasts. They tried to help. But you can't outsource grief. You just survive it. 6 months after her funeral, my grandfather Dutch passed away at 93. Heart failure, peaceful in his sleep. The man had survived Korea, built half the houses in this county with his bare hands, and taught me everything I know about integrity. His last words to me a week before he died, "The lake house is yours now, Maxie. Take care of her. She'll take care of you." The lake house, 2.8 acres of pure Michigan waterfront on Mirror Lake. Dutch bought the land in 1963, back when this area was nothing but woods and optimism, and built 4 homes around the shoreline. Ours was the crown jewel. 7,200 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows facing the water, stone fireplace he'd moored himself, and that boathouse. God, that boathouse. I moved in 3 months after his funeral. Sold my condo in Grand Rapids, packed up Lillian's things, her recipe cards, her gardening books, the ridiculous collection of coffee mugs she'd insisted on keeping, and drove north. The smell of cedar hit me the moment I opened the door. Dutch had replaced those dock planks every decade like clockwork. You could still see the pencil marks where he'd measured each cut. I spent $400,000 renovating. New solar panels, ramps, and grab bars. Dutch had needed a wheelchair those last 2 years. I restored that 1960s stone fireplace to exactly how it looked in the old photographs. And the boathouse. I reinforced every beam, replaced the roof shingles one by one, repainted it in Dutch's original forest green. Lillian and I had carved our initials into the door frame in 1994. M+L inside a lopsided heart. I cried when I sanded around it, making sure I didn't damage a single groove. The lake itself became my therapy. Mornings, I'd hear loons calling across the water. This haunting, lonely sound that somehow made me feel less alone. I'd sit on the dock with coffee, running my hands along that worn rope on the tire swing Lillian had insisted we hang for future grandkids will definitely have someday. We never had grandkids, but I kept the swing. Here's what I didn't know. While I was drowning in grief and renovation dust, the neighborhood had changed. Some developer bought up 47 parcels around the lake and slapped up McMansions, $800,000 to $1.22 million, all identical, all beige, all soulless. They formed an HOA in 2018. Mirror Lake Estates Homeowners Association. Dues were $24,400 a year. The 4 original properties, mine included, technically predated the HOA, but the developer encouraged us legacy owners to join for community harmony. Dutch, getting older and less interested in fighting, had signed something. I inherited that signature. And apparently I inherited $11,700 in back fees and penalties Dutch had ignored. I found out about the debt the same week I finished the boathouse. A certified letter, thick envelope, return address, V. Drummond, HOA President. Inside, a $300 fine for architectural violations. My grandfather's 60-year-old boathouse didn't match their approved color palette. The letter ended with the helpful note handwritten in purple ink. Legacy properties must comply with current standards. Looking forward to your cooperation, Viva. That smiley face she drew next to her name. That should have been my first warning. I'm not a confrontational guy. I solve problems with spreadsheets, not shouting matches. So, I called the HOA office. Got voicemail. Vivica's syrupy voice. You've reached Mirror Lake Estates HOA. Your community, your home, your investment. 2 business days turned into a week. I called 4 times. Finally drove to her office, her finished basement with a hand-painted HOA headquarters sign in aggressive cursive. Chemical floral air freshener hit me first, thick enough to taste. Viva sat behind a salvage desk surrounded by color-coded binders. Mine was red. Never a good sign. Mr. Cordell. Acrylic nails clicked against my palm. Please sit. No coffee offered. Power move. This boathouse fine. I slid the letter AC, cross. It was built in 1963 before your subdivision existed. Oh, I understand completely. Shark smile. But legacy properties agreed to current standards. Section 4.7. Would you like a printed copy? I'll paint it whatever color fixes this. Click, click, click on her calculator. Before any remediation, you must clear the outstanding balance of $11,700. I stared. What? Your grandfather's unpaid fees, 6 years of accumulation plus penalties. Liens transfer with property. Mr. Cordell, perhaps you should have done due diligence during probate. The printout showed $11,700 in itemized charges dating to 2018. Late fees compounding like cancer. Lillian used to handle this stuff. She read the fine print. After she died, I'd been on autopilot. Trusting lawyers caught everything wrong. County records are public for a reason. $50 could have saved me this. Dutch was 90. I said probably didn't understand. Nevertheless, payment plan materialized. 5 years 18% interest. I designed earthquake-proof cell towers more stable than that math. I'm not signing today, of course. But Section 7.3 allows liens if accounts stay delinquent past 90 days. Just FYI. That smile. I left without slamming the door. 2 weeks later, fluorescent orange notice of lien sticker on my front door, 8 in tall, visible from the road. Gus knocked that evening with a Bud Light, looking uncomfortable. They got you, too? He nodded at the sticker. What do you mean? The Reagans, 4 houses down. Viva filed a lien over $900 last year, foreclosed when they couldn't pay. Teacher salaries, you know. They're renting 40 minutes away now. He sipped his beer. Lost everything. Cold settled in my gut. Over $900. HOA's got teeth. And Vivica doesn't just win. She makes sure you know you lost. That night I tore through Dutch's workshop filing cabinet. Olive drab metal smelling like his cherry blend pipe tobacco. Folders of ancient lumber receipts. Deck sketches. Junked appliance warranties. At the bottom. Lake House important in Dutch's block letters. The deed was so old the paper felt like fabric. I held it under the work light. Parcel A, Lakewood Development Company, comprising 42 acres, including lake bed, access roads, and all appurtenances there, too. 42 acres. My lot was 2.8. I flipped it over. That photograph. Dutch in some suit grinning, shaking hands in front of a Lakewood Estates coming soon sign. On back, Dutch's handwriting. Partnership dissolved. Dutch retains master parcel BK 1965. I sat on the workshop floor for 20 minutes, dust floating in flashlight beams, trying to make sense of it. 42 us 2.8 left 39.2 acres of what? Where did it go? The lake outside was dead silent. No loons, no wind, just my pulse and a distant pool filter. Dutch's grin in that photo. He'd known something. Built something bigger than I'd understood. I'd inherited more than a house. I'd inherited a puzzle. And maybe, just maybe, the key to dismantling Vivica's little empire. But first, I needed to understand what Dutch had actually owned, which meant a trip I'd been dreading. The county recorder's office, 60 miles away through farmland I'd rather not drive through on a Tuesday. I looked at the deed again. 42 acres. The number felt impossible and somehow perfectly Dutch. The man never did anything small. My phone buzzed. Text from my daughter Emma in Seattle. Dad, just pay the stupid fees. It's not worth the stress. I looked at the demolished boathouse through the workshop window. Pile of splintered cedar where Dutch's handiwork used to stand. Typed back, some things are worth fighting for. She sent back 3 eye roll emojis. Kids these days, no sense of righteous stubbornness. I made coffee. Terrible 2 a.m. workshop coffee that tasted like regret and determination. And started making a list. County recorder, title search, maybe a real estate attorney who didn't cost $300 just to say hello. Dutch used to say, measure twice, cut once. Time to start measuring. The county recorder's office opened at 8 a.m. I got there at 7:45 with gas station coffee that tasted like burnt sadness and sat in the parking lot watching fog lift off the surrounding farmland. The building looked like every government office built in 1974. Brown brick, small windows, the architectural equivalent of a sigh. Inside smelled like old paper and floor wax. The kind of smell that makes you feel like you're in a library run by someone's disappointed grandmother. The clerk was exactly that grandmother. Doreen, according to her nameplate. 70-something. Cat-eye glasses on a beaded chain cardigan with a sleeping cat embroidered on it. She looked up from a crossword puzzle. Help you, hun. I need to pull deed records for Mirror Lake. Property originally filed in 1963. Owner was Dutch Cordell. Her whole face lit up. Lord, I haven't heard that name in years. That old Dutchman helped my husband build our barn in '74. Didn't charge us a dime. Just wanted beer and conversation. She stood up, joints creaking. What do you need, sweetheart? Everything you've got on the original Lakewood development. Oh, this will be fun. Nobody asks for microfic anymore. She disappeared into a back room that looked like it hadn't been updated since Carter was president. 10 minutes later, she returned wheeling a cart with a microfic reader. Actual honest-to-God microfic, the kind I thought existed only in movies about conspiracy theorists. The machine whirred to life, casting that weird blue-white glow. Here we go. 1963, she fed in the film. Mechanical clicking, smell of dust and acetate. Bernard C.S. files Lakewood Estates as a 42-acre development. Lists Dutch as co-owner, 50% equity. There it was on the screen. Typing so faded it looked like a ghost wrote it. Now 1965. More clicking. Oh, this is interesting. Cost files bankruptcy. Market crash. Poor timing. Only sold 3 homes before everything went south. She adjusted her glasses. And here quit claim deed. Cost signs his 50% to Dutch for $1 and other valuable consideration. He sold his half for $1. Bankruptcy courts don't care about fair market value, hun. Cost probably owed more than the land was worth. Quit claim means he transferred whatever interest he had. No warranties, no guarantees. But here's the thing. She tapped the screen with one finger. If it's recorded first at the county, it beats any later claims. First in time, first in right. Your grandfather got everything. My coffee had gone cold. I didn't care. Is there anything after 65? Let me check. More film, more clicking. 1966, Dutch Records, a non-subdivision covenant, keeps the 42 acres as one single parcel, leases 4 home sites on 99-year terms. She looked at me over her glasses. Smart man, your grandfather kept ownership, gave people long-term security, everybody wins. So, the other houses, they're on leased land. If Dutch never formally subdivided, and it looks like he didn't, then yes. Every structure built after 66 is technically on his land. She kept scrolling. Oh, wait. Here's something from 1998. My stomach dropped. Dutch files an informal subdivision plat. Township probably pressured him for tax reasons. It's a common thing when areas start developing. He carves out 4 lots including yours. She traced the screen with her finger. But the remaining 38 acres listed as common area retained by grantor. Meaning you own it. Sugar roads, retention pond, that fancy clubhouse I heard they built. If it's on those 38 acres, it's yours. The world tilted slightly. Can you pull the title for the clubhouse lot? Specifically? You're thorough. I like that. More microfic here. Developer called Pinnacle Properties LLC sold it to your HOA in 2018 for she squinted $200,000 but look at the source deed. Pinnacle references the 1998 plat assumes the common area was public land but it wasn't. Nope. Public land gets dedicated through a formal process filings township acceptance the whole 9 yards. This she tapped the screen. Again. This is just one private owner keeping his land and letting people use it until he says otherwise. I sat back in the plasticky chair. My hands were shaking slightly. So legally, hun, that HOA built their clubhouse on your land without permission. And depending on your state's adverse possession laws, usually 15 to 20 years of open obvious use. They can't claim it just by squatting. They've only been there 6 years? 6 years? Not even close. She powered down the microfiche machine. Your grandfather was smarter than people gave him credit for. Built himself a kingdom and made it look like generosity. I drove home in a daze. The farmland looked different now. Every fence line, every property marker. They all meant something I'd never paid attention to before. Ownership isn't just possession. It's paperwork. It's who filed first, who recorded what, who actually read the fine print. Dutch had read the fine print. And he'd kept his ace in the hole for 60 years. When I got home, there was a padlock on my boathouse door, on the pile of lumber that used to be my boathouse and a sign zip tied to the remains. Violation pending removal. Gus was standing in his driveway watching. Emergency board meeting last night, he called over. Vivica authorized a demolition contractor. You've got until Friday to pay or they're taking it down. Today was Tuesday. I looked at the padlock, at the sign, at my phone where I'd photographed every single microfiche screen Doreen had shown me. Let them try, I said. Friday morning, deadline day. I woke up to the sound of diesel engines. Not again. I ran outside barefoot, seems to be my signature move during crisis, and found a cat bulldozer idling in my driveway. 2 guys in hard hats and high-vis vests standing next to what was left of the boathouse, consulting clipboards. Stop! I shouted. You can't do this. The foreman, 50-ish guy with a gray beard, looked up. Got a work order, buddy. HOA authorization, township permit, whole 9 yards. You Max Cordell? Yes. And that's my property. You're about to says here you got notice, architectural violation, unpaid fees, blah blah. He showed me the permit, official stamps, Vikica's signature, even the township code enforcement officer's name. Look, I just do what the paperwork says. You got a problem? Call the HOA. I called the cops. They showed up 12 minutes later. Felt like 12 hours. But the foreman had his documents in order. The township permit was real. Sir, if he's got authorization from code enforcement, we can't stop him. The deputy said, not unkindly, just procedurally helpless. I stood there and watched again. 40 minutes of crunching timber and screaming hydraulics. The smell of sawdust and diesel mixing with morning dew. Every beam Dutch had hand-planed. Every joint Lillian and I had helped restore reduced to a pile of kindling you could have bought at a garden center. That's when Vivica arrived. White Escalade Starbucks iced latte designer sunglasses despite the overcast sky. She parked 50 feet away and got out with her phone already recording. Just documenting, she called out sweetly. For HOA records, I was shaking. Actual physically shaking with rage I didn't know I was capable of. You're going to regret this, I said quietly, calmly, the way you'd warn someone they're standing on a frozen lake that's about to crack. Threats, Mr. Cordell, louder now for her phone's microphone. I'm documenting everything. You're becoming increasingly hostile toward HOA personnel executing lawful. It's not lawful if you don't own the land. She lowered her phone just for a second. Confusion flickered across her face. Then that smile came back. I'm not engaging with your conspiracy theories. You have a lovely day. She drove off. I stood in the wreckage holding the only thing I'd managed to salvage. That photograph of Dutch and Bernard C. from 1962. Frame cracked, glass missing, but the picture intact. Gus walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She just made the biggest mistake of her life, I finally said. Yeah. Gus nodded. She has no idea, does she? Not yet. I spent the weekend in what my daughter would call an unhealthy dissociative state. Didn't shower. Ate cold pizza straight from the box. Ignored 17 phone calls. But I wasn't moping. I was planning. Monday morning, I hired a surveyor, independent land services guy named Travis, 20-something with more enthusiasm for drones than any human should legally possess. Dude, this is going to be sick, he said, unloading equipment that looked like it cost more than my first car. Original 1963 survey pins. That's like archaeological surveying. We're going to GPS the hell out of this. He spent 2 days mapping every inch with laser precision, cross-referencing Dutch's original coordinates against current structures. I watched him work from my kitchen window, drinking coffee, and waiting. Wednesday afternoon, he knocked on my door, holding a tablet, grinning like he'd found buried treasure. Dude, you need to see this. The 3D overlay on his screen showed the original 1963 property boundaries in red, current structures in blue. 11 houses, including Vivica's, had blue chunks extending past the red lines. Her garage, Travis zoomed in, is literally 6 feet onto your land. Like the whole back half of it, foundation and everything. Are you sure? GPS accurate to within 2 centimeters. I can testify to this in court if needed. He swiped to another view. And the clubhouse, dude, the entire clubhouse is on your parcel. Pool, parking lot, that weird gazebo thing, all yours. I sat down, stood up, sat down again. Can I get a copy of this? Already emailed you the full report. Also uploading to the county GIS database because legally I have to public record and all that. He packed up his tablet. Whatever you're planning, man. Good luck. That HOA lady seems like a real piece of work. Understatement of the century. That night, Viveka's post appeared on the neighborhood Facebook group. Concerned about suspicious surveying activity near common areas? Reminder, only HOA-approved contractors may access community property. Please report unauthorized personnel immediately. Stay vigilant, neighbors. 43 comments. Most supportive of her, some asking questions. One from Gus. Maybe he's checking property lines because someone demolished his family's boathouse without actual legal authority. Viveka deleted his comment within an hour. The war was officially on. I spent the weekend in a haze. Didn't shower, didn't shave, lived on cold pizza and spite. My kitchen table disappeared under Dutch's files, surveyor reports, and printouts from the county recorder. Saturday night, my daughter Emma called. Dad, I'm driving up. You don't need to. I'm already on I-94. See you in 3 hours. She arrived just after midnight, took one look at me and the disaster zone formerly known as my kitchen, and sighed. Dad, this isn't healthy. I'm fine. You're wearing the same shirt as Thursday. I can smell you from here. She started gathering papers into organized piles. Emma's a paralegal in Seattle. Organization is her love language. Let me help. What are we looking for? Proof that Viveka doesn't own what she thinks she owns. Okay, then we do this systematically. She grabbed a legal pad. Show me everything. We worked until 4 a.m. Emma has this way of reading documents where she notices things lawyers miss. Around 3:30, she picked up an envelope I dismissed as junk mail from the estate pile. Dad, what's this? The envelope was yellowed, sealed, labeled in Dutch's handwriting. Lakewood Trust. Important. I'd never opened it. Assumed it was some old investment account, probably empty. Emma slid it open carefully. Inside a trust document dated 1967, officially notarized, corners still sharp. The Cordell Family Land Trust, she read aloud. Established by Dutch Cordell as trustee, trust assets, 42 acres comprising the entirety of Lakewood Development Company, master parcel. She looked up. Dad, do you know what this means? That Dutch really loved paperwork. It means you don't just own the land. You control it through a legal entity. That's 58 years old. And look, she flipped pages. Beneficiaries are Dutch Cordell and his descendants in perpetuity. When Dutch died, you automatically became trustee. My brain felt like it was moving through mud. So what? So trusts don't die when people die. If properly maintained, they're nearly indestructible legal entities. And look at Article 7. Trustee may revoke any leases, easements, or licenses granted on trust land with 90-day written notice. I stared at her. You can kick them all out, she said quietly. Legally, every single house built after 1967. I'm not evicting 47 families, Emma. I know, but Viva doesn't know that, she kept reading. Wait, there's more. Did Dutch ever pay property taxes on the common areas? I don't know why. She grabbed her laptop, pulled up the county tax assessor's website, 15 minutes of clicking and muttering, then, oh my God, what? The HOA never paid property taxes on the clubhouse, pool, or roads. They assumed it was public land exempt from taxes. But it's not public. It's trust land, private property. How much are we talking? 6 years of back taxes plus penalties. She did math on her legal pad. $187,000, give or take. I felt something shift in my chest. Not quite hope, more like possibility. The county can seize it, Emma continued. If the HOA can't pay, the county forecloses and auctions the assets. Standard procedure for tax delinquency. But the HOA doesn't have that kind of money. Exactly. She smiled. Not a happy smile, a lawyer smile. Dad, you don't have to be the bad guy. Let the county be the bad guy. You just have to inform them of the situation. We sat there in the pre-dawn darkness, my daughter and me, surrounded by 60 years of my grandfather's secrets. Are you doing this for Dutch? Emma asked. Or for revenge? I looked at the photo of the demolished boathouse pinned to my corkboard. Both, I said. And because no one else should lose their home to someone like her, Emma squeezed my hand. Then let's burn her empire down legally. Legally, I agreed. Outside, the lake was starting to lighten. Loons called in the distance. The same sound Dutch would have heard every morning for 40 years. Time to finish what he started. Monday morning, I called Shauna Briggs, the real estate attorney I'd found online. Her office was above a sandwich shop called HOAGI Paradise, which felt cosmically appropriate given my current situation. Shauna was 60-some, gray hair and a practical bob. Zero patience for nonsense. Her consultation fee was $200. Best money I ever spent. Let me get this straight. She leaned back in a chair that squeaked. You inherited a land trust that owns the entire subdivision. The HOA built on your land without permission and they owe 6 figures in back taxes. That's the summary. Yes. And you want to expose them legally without hurting the actual homeowners. She smiled. I like you. Most people want blood. You want justice. She pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we do. I file a quiet title lawsuit naming you as trust beneficiary. We challenge every deed in the subdivision. Force everyone to acknowledge your ownership. Then, and this is key, we immediately offer settlement terms. What kind of terms? You dissolve the HOA, place all properties under trust management, charge reasonable ground rents, way less than current HOA dues, and let residents buy out their leases over time if they want. Everybody wins except Viva. How long does this take? 2 weeks to draft, another week to serve. You'll need a good surveyor. Already have one. Perfect. I'll also subpoena HOA financial records. Discovery is a beautiful thing. She made notes. Anything else I should know? They demolished my boathouse. Her pen stopped. Before or after you knew about the trust before? Even better. Destruction of property on land they don't own. We'll add that more notes. This is going to get ugly, Mr. Cordell. You ready for that? They already made it ugly. Good answer. While Shauna worked on legal strategy, I focused on building support. Gus helped. Turns out retirement from the Postal Service taught him excellent door-to-door skills. We went house to house with a single-page flyer Emma designed. What you really own, the truth about Mirror Lake property rights, simple language, no legal jargon, just facts. Dutch's original ownership, the trust document, the fact that the HOA had been collecting dues on land they never actually controlled. 22 homeowners signed our petition for an independent financial audit within 3 days, nearly half the neighborhood. Dana, the accountant who'd questioned Viva at that meeting, volunteered to review the HOA books once we got them. I've wanted to do this for 2 years, she said, signing the petition. But I was afraid. Viva has a way of making people afraid. Not anymore, Gus said. The financial records arrived via court-ordered discovery. Shauna delivered them in 3 bankers' boxes. Dana and I spent a Saturday going through every receipt, every transaction, every bank statement. What we found was worse than embezzlement. It was systematic looting. Vivica's management company, actually her husband, Leonard's LLC, charged the HOA $8,500 a month for consulting services. No itemized work, no deliverables, just monthly transfers. Over 3 years, $360,000. The clubhouse renovations $340,000 spent except Dana called the contractors. Actual receipts totaled $190,000. The rest vanished and buried in 2023. Transactions. $75,000 paid to Pinnacle Properties LLC for development consulting. Pinnacle had dissolved in 2020. Dana pulled up the Illinois Secretary of State database. This Pinnacle payment went to a shell company. Same registered address as Leonard Drummond's law office. They created a fake company to pay themselves. That's felony fraud. She highlighted the transaction. But here's what really pisses me off. They raised our dues 15% last year to cover unexpected maintenance costs. And there were no unexpected costs. They just wanted more money to steal. I took photos of everything, sent copies to Shauna and to Jake Renfro, the investigative reporter who'd been covering HOA abuse stories for the regional paper. Jake called me 2 hours later. Is this real? Every document's authenticated through court discovery. Can I interview you on camera? Not yet. I need one more piece. I explained about the tax situation. Oh, this is beautiful. He sounded genuinely excited. Give me 2 weeks to verify everything with county officials. I'll make this story bulletproof. 2 weeks. While Jake worked his angle, I contacted Travis, the surveyor again. I need you to create a visual presentation, something a jury could understand. Show the original boundaries, current structures, every encroachment. Dude, I can do a full 3D model with drone footage overlays. When do you need it? Yesterday. My favorite deadline. Emma stayed the whole week helping coordinate. We worked from my kitchen table, now covered in organized files instead of chaos. She'd labeled everything with color-coded tabs. You're good at this, I told her Wednesday night over Chinese takeout. Paralegal training. Also, Mom taught me to fight smart. She cracked open a fortune cookie, read it, laughed. Listen to this. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Dutch would have loved that. He would have loved all of this, watching you take down a bully using nothing but paperwork and spite. She raised her paper cup of tea. To Dutch and to Mom, may they both rest easy knowing their son's a stubborn pain in the ass. To family, I agreed. We clinked paper cups in my kitchen while outside the lake settled into evening. Somewhere in the neighborhood, Vivica was probably planning her next move, but so was I. And I had something she didn't. The truth and a really good attorney. The lawsuits hit like a bomb. 47 separate summons, one for each homeowner, all delivered by certified mail on the same Tuesday morning. By noon, the neighborhood Facebook group was melting down. Anyone else get sued by Max Cordell? He's trying to take our homes. This is insane. We paid $900K for this house. I'd expected panic. Shauna had warned me. But seeing it unfold in real time still made my stomach hurt. These were my neighbors, people I'd waved to, shared small talk with at the mailboxes. Gus texted, "Stay off social media. Let me handle it." He posted a calm response. Read the actual lawsuit. Max isn't taking anyone's home. He's challenging the HOA's legal authority. Big difference. Vivica's response came within minutes. This is a coordinated attack on our community. Emergency HOA meeting tonight, 7:00 p.m. Clubhouse. Attendance mandatory. I didn't go, but Gus did. Recorded the whole thing on his phone. The video was damning. Standing room only, 80 people packed into the clubhouse. Viva at the podium looking simultaneously furious and terrified. Her husband Leonard stood beside her in a suit that cost more than most people's monthly mortgage. Max Cordell is trying to extort this community with frivolous litigation. Vivica announced. We will counter-sue for harassment, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We've engaged outside counsel. How much is that costing? Someone shouted. Leonard stepped forward. Legal defense requires resources. We're implementing a special assessment. $2,500 per household due within 30 days. The room erupted. Dana stood up. I've reviewed our financial records. Where did $75,000 to Pinnacle Properties go in 2023? Vivek's face went white. That's confidential vendor information. Pinnacle dissolved in 2020. I checked the state database. Dana held up printed documents. You paid $75,000 to a company that doesn't exist. This meeting is adjourned. Leonard grabbed Viveka's arm, started pulling her toward the exit. Answer the question. Multiple voices now. They fled. Literally fled to Viveka's Escalade and peeled out of the parking lot. Gus sent me the video with one word. Imploding. But Viveka wasn't done. Wounded animals get desperate. Thursday morning, I found my driveway blocked by an HOA maintenance truck. Driver sitting in the cab, drinking coffee, refusing to move. Sorry, man. President Drummond told me to park here for repairs. What repairs? Don't know. I just do what I'm told. I called a tow truck. The driver left before it arrived. Friday, my mailbox got spray painted. Thief in red letters 4 in tall. Saturday, anonymous letters appeared in neighbors' mailboxes. Photocopied, no signature. Max Cordell is using legal tricks to steal your homes. He demolished his own boathouse for sympathy. Protect your families. Protect your investment. Stand with the HOA. I documented everything. Photos, police reports, timestamps, added it all to Shauna's growing file of evidence of retaliation. Then Leonard called me directly. My phone auto-recorded. I'd installed the app after Viveka's demolition stunt. Max Leonard Drummond, I think we got off on the wrong foot here. You demolished my family's boathouse. That was unfortunate. A miscommunication. Look, let's be reasonable, men. Drop the lawsuit. We'll waive your lien completely, and I'm authorized to offer you $100,000 for your trouble. Clean slate. I let the silence stretch. Max, you demolished a structure on land you don't own. And embezzled from your neighbors for 3 years. And now you're offering me hush money. I'm offering a reasonable settlement. Counter offer. You and Viva resign. Return every stolen dollar. And maybe I don't forward everything to the county prosecutor. Long pause. When he spoke again, his voice had ice in it. You're making a mistake. We have resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, connections, people who owe us favors. Another pause. Actually, I have a better offer. Anonymous LLC wants to buy your property. 4.2 million cash closes in 30 days. Take it and walk away. Who's the buyer? Anonymous means anonymous, but trust me, you want this deal. I'll pass. See you in court. I hung up. Sat there staring at my phone, adrenaline making my hands shake. Emma walked in from the kitchen. Was that bribery attempt recorded? I played it back for her. She listened with her lawyer face on. He's panicking. That anonymous buyer is probably another shell company. They'd buy your property, then claim adverse possession on the common areas through continuous use. Can they do that? Not in 6 years, but they could try to muddy the waters legally, tie you up in court for years. She took my phone. I'm sending this to Shauna and maybe to Jake the reporter. Not yet. One more thing I need first. What? Proof that Viva already did this to someone else. The Reagans, the family Gus mentioned. I pulled up the county foreclosure database. If I can show a pattern, then it's not just your case. It's systemic abuse. Emma opened her laptop. Let's find them. We worked until 2 a.m. Found the Reagan family's foreclosure records, $917 in disputed fees. Viva filed the lien. Leonard's LLC bought the property at auction for $120,000, 40% below market, flipped it 6 months later for $890,000. Profit $770,000. They're not just embezzling, Emma said quietly. They're running a foreclosure scam. I looked at the numbers at the Reagan family signatures on documents they probably didn't understand. At the date, 3 months after Mrs. Reagan lost her teaching job due to school budget cuts. Viva hadn't just stolen from them, she destroyed them. We're ending this, I said. Damn right we are. I hired a private investigator. Lorraine, former FBI white-collar crime specialist, 62 years old, looked like someone's friendly aunt, but investigated like a bloodhound with a law degree. 2 weeks, she said. I'll find everything. She delivered in 10 days. Vivica's consulting company never filed Illinois business registration. Tax fraud. Her husband's law firm was under state bar investigation for mishandling client funds in an unrelated case. Pattern of behavior. The Escalade lease paid through an unauthorized HOA vehicle allowance that never appeared in any approved budget. They're sloppy, Lorraine said, handing me a thumb drive. Sloppy criminals always get caught. You just have to know where to look. While Lorraine worked her magic, I'd filed something else. A request with the county tax assessor for reassessment of all parcels within the Cordell Family Land Trust. The assessor, legally obligated to investigate, discovered what we already knew. The HOA had never paid property taxes on common areas. Clubhouse, pool, roads, retention pond, all on trust land, all privately owned, all taxable. The demand letter arrived at HOA headquarters on a Wednesday. $87,340 due in 30 days or the county begins foreclosure proceedings. Viva called an emergency meeting that night. Only 14 people showed up. Her support had collapsed. She announced a special assessment. $4,000 per household. The room cleared in under a minute. People walking out mid-sentence while she was still talking. Dana texted me. She's finished. Nobody's paying. My second town hall held at the public library neutral ground drew 48 residents 3 times the first meeting. I stood at the front with Emma beside me. Travis's 3D survey model on the projector screen. I'm not evicting anyone. I started no preamble, no small talk. Let me be clear about that. What I want is the HOA dissolved and a fair system in place. I showed them the trust document. Explained Dutch's original vision. Affordable long-term leases, community ownership, neighbors supporting neighbors instead of enriching board members. My proposed ground rent is $600 a year, locked in for 99 years. You pay your property taxes directly to the county. You maintain your homes. No architectural review boards, no ridiculous fines, no Viva. Someone laughed. Then someone else, then half the room. What about the clubhouse? A woman asked. I'm donating it to the township public recreational facility. No more HOA gatekeeping. Everyone in the county can use it, but Lakewood residents get priority booking. Applause. Actual applause. Where do we sign? Dana asked. I had clipboards ready. 42 of 47 households signed interest forms that night. But Vivica had one last card to play. The following Tuesday, my septic system backed up. Raw sewage flooding the yard. Smell bad enough to make grown men gag. The septic company found the problem. Someone had dumped concrete mix down my cleanout pipe. This was deliberate, the technician said. Sabotage cost to repair $8,000. I was furious. Emma was furious. But the contractor, young guy, maybe 25, looked sick with guilt, pulled me aside as his crew was leaving. I need to tell you something. He showed me his phone, text messages from a number he'd saved as HOA president. Need septic work done at 2847 Lakeshore. Owners refusing to pay fees. Make sure it backs up. $2,000 cash. No questions. Why are you showing me this? Because I'm an idiot who needed money. And I didn't realize what I was doing until I saw your house. My mom lives 3 streets over. She told me what's really going on. He looked miserable. I'll testify if you need me to, and I'm not charging you for the repair. I took screenshots of everything, added it to the file, filed a criminal complaint. The county sheriff's department started paying attention. Then Jake Renfro's story dropped. HOA embezzlement and land fraud. How one president built an empire on stolen ground. 4,000 words in the regional paper. 18-minute video on YouTube. Financial records. Interviews with Rhonda, the former secretary. Survey footage. My story. The Reagan story. The video went viral. 42,000 views in 48 hours. Picked up by statewide news. Chicago Tribune ran a summary. Detroit Free Press called for an interview. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. But the call that mattered came Thursday afternoon. County Prosecutor's Office. Assistant Prosecutor named Michelle Garza. Or Mr. Cordell. We've opened a criminal investigation into Mirror Lake Estates' HOA financial practices. After reviewing Mr. Renfro's reporting and your attorney's filings, we're issuing subpoenas for all banking records. How long does that take? We move fast on fraud cases, especially ones with this much public attention. Pause. We'd like you to testify at the county commissioner hearing next Tuesday, 7:00 p.m. courthouse. Can you make it? Absolutely. Good. Bring everything you've got. We're putting this HOA into receivership. I hung up and just sat there for a minute. Emma was watching from the kitchen doorway. It's happening, I said. Yeah. She smiled. Dutch would be proud. That Sunday, I drove to the veterans cemetery where Dutch was buried. Small stone, simple Dutch Cordell, builder, father, friend. I left one of his hand-carved duck decoys on the headstone. The mallet he'd finished the year before he died. Almost done, old man, I said to the stone. To the wind, to whatever part of him might still be listening. One more fight. The grass smelled fresh cut. Highway hummed in the distance. Sun warm on my shoulders. Tuesday was coming. The county courthouse hearing room held 150 people. Standing room only by 6:45 p.m. I counted 80+ Lakewood residents. Jake with his camera crew, county commissioners at the raised bench and in the front row impeccably dressed, radiating expensive suit energy. Vivica and Leonard Drummond. Commissioner Patricia Valtz, former judge, late 60s, commanded the room like she was born to it. We're here to assess allegations of financial mismanagement by Mirror Lake Estates HOA. Mr. Cordell, you requested this hearing. Present your case. I stood. No notes. Emma had told me notes make you look weak, just confidence and facts. Thank you. I'm here because my grandfather built a community on trust and that trust was betrayed. I walked them through it. Travis's survey appeared on the projection screen. Red lines showing Dutch's original boundaries, blue showing current structures. 11 homes, including Vivica's, overlapping into trust land. Every house in Lakewood Estates sits on land my family still owns through the Cordell Family Land Trust, established 1967. I showed the trust document camera ready on screen. My grandfather leased parcels for $1 a year because he believed neighbors should support each other, not be exploited. Next slide. HOA financial records. Highlighted sections glowing yellow. Over 3 years, President Drummond and her husband siphoned $420,000 through fake contracts and shell companies. Clicked through the evidence. Vivica's management company, Leonard's LLC, the Phantom Pinnacle payment. They didn't just embezzle. They ran a foreclosure scam. Filing liens, buying properties cheap, flipping for profit. Final slide. Before and after photos of my boat house. Dutch building it in 1964. Weathered but beautiful. Then the rubble. They destroyed my family's history over $300. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to make sure they never do this to anyone else. Commissioner Volz turned to the front row. Mrs. Drummond, do you wish to respond? Vivica stood. She was shaking but trying to hide it. Leonard grabbed her arm, whispered urgently. She pulled away. No, I built that HOA into something. I made those people's homes worth more. Property values increased 17% under my leadership. By extorting your neighbors, Commissioner Volz's voice could cut glass. I took compensation for my time. Do you know how many hours I spent managing that community? The complaints, the violations, the constant. Did you just admit to embezzlement? Volz leaned forward. On the record, in front of witnesses. Viva's face went white. Leonard stood trying to pull her toward the exit. Don't say anything else. As your attorney, you're not my attorney. You're my husband, and you got us into this. The room went dead silent. Leonard's jaw clenched. We're leaving. No. Viva turned back to the commissioners, desperate now. You don't understand. Max Cordell is manipulating legal technicalities to steal an entire neighborhood. He's Mrs. Drummond. I stayed calm, didn't raise my voice. I'm withdrawing my lawsuit against the homeowners. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. They're victims here, but I'm requesting the county place the HOA into receivership, audit every transaction, and return stolen funds. I pulled out the document Emma and I had finalized yesterday. I've also drafted a new community land trust. Every current resident can join. Ground rent $600 a year. Locked for 99 years. Clubhouse, pool, common areas transferred to township as public property. I held up a pen. I'll sign it tonight. Anyone who wants real ownership, not the lie you were sold, can join me. The room erupted in conversation. Commissioner Volz banged her gavel. Mrs. Drummond, you're out of order. Bailiff, this is my neighborhood. Mine. Vivica was screaming now, mascara running. I built it. I made it worth something. Leonard physically dragged her toward the doors. Her voice echoed down the hallway. You can't do this. I'll sue all of you. The doors closed. Silence settled like snow. Commissioner Volz looked at her fellow board members. Discussion. They deliberated on the record live for 6 minutes. I barely breathed. Vote 5-0. Place HOA into receivership. Freeze all accounts. Refer financial records to county prosecutor. Approve Max Cordell's land trust proposal pending township review. Mr. Cordell, Volz said, you've shown remarkable grace under circumstances that would have broken most people. This board supports your proposal. Outside in the parking lot, residents were waiting. Dana approached first. Where do I sign? Me too, Gus said. Line formed. 42 households signing interest forms under parking lot lights. June bugs swarming the lamps. Everyone talking at once. Jake filmed everything. Max, how do you feel? I looked up at the stars. Same stars Dutch would have seen building that boathouse 60 years ago. Tired, I said. But good. Someone handed me a beer. Someone else started clapping. Then everyone was clapping and I was shaking hands and Emma was crying, laughing beside me. And for the first time in 2 years since Lillian died, I felt something like peace. Dutch had built something worth saving, and we'd saved it. 2 weeks after the hearing, criminal charges dropped. Viva and Leonard Drummond. Embezzlement, wire fraud, tax evasion. Federal charges came next. The FBI doesn't appreciate fake companies defrauding homeowners. Both released on bail. Assets frozen. Viva's Escalade got repossessed. I heard about it through Gus and allowed myself exactly 3 seconds of petty satisfaction. The Township Board approved the Cordell Community Land Trust 6-1. 45 of 47 households joined. 2 families were moving anyway for job relocations. Nothing to do with the drama. We elected a board democratically. Dana as treasurer, Gus as president, Rhonda as secretary, plus 4 resident representatives. I stayed as trustee but with voting power only for tie breaks. The county recovered $178,000 from frozen HOA accounts. Distributed it back to homeowners. Average refund $3,800. Dutch's Community Fund. I seeded it with 50 grand. Now covers legal aid and emergency home repairs for low-income residents. The clubhouse and pool officially transferred to township ownership. Now open to all county residents, free for Lakewood members. Kids from 3 zip codes swim there now. I hired a contractor to rebuild the boathouse using Dutch's original plans. 30 neighbors showed up to help. A barn raising for the 21st century. The smell of fresh cut pine, sound of hammering and laughter, taste of Gus's barbecue that he insisted on cooking for everyone. We finished in 2 weekends. I unpacked Lillian's recipe cards and hosted the first Cordell family dinner at the new boathouse. Potluck style, 60+ people folding tables on the dock. Emma made her mother's famous potato salad from the handwritten card I'd been too sad to read for 18 months. To Dutch and Lillian, Emma raised her plastic cup. May they rest easy knowing their son's a stubborn pain in the ass who doesn't know when to quit. To family, I agreed. Emma moved back, takes contract work remotely, helps me manage the trust, talks about maybe staying permanently. We're planting oak saplings around the property for the grandkids Dutch wanted, she said. And I didn't have the heart to tell her I'm 52 and single. The legal proceedings wrapped up in September. Viva plead guilty to reduced charges. 18 months federal prison, $420,000 restitution. Leonard got disbarred in 3 years for his role. I attended sentencing. Sat in back, said nothing. Left before the deputies took them away. Emma asked why I went. Needed to see it end. I said, not watch her fall apart. Just end. She understood. I created a 1-page guide, how to audit your HOA, posted it online. Within a month, it had been downloaded 40,000 times, hit Reddit's front page, spawned a whole thread on our HOA with 180,000 upvotes. Key points: request financials annually. It's your legal right. Check for related party transactions. Verify insurance coverage. Google your board members. Boring stuff that prevents exciting disasters. The guide became a thing. People started calling me for advice, then asking me to consult, then offering to pay me to review their HOA documents. I'm considering it. Retirement was boring. Anyway, we established the Lakewood Trade Scholarship, 10 grand annually for local high school students pursuing construction, surveying, or engineering. First recipient was Travis's younger sister who wants to be a civil engineer. The ceremony was at the boathouse. We installed a plaque in memory of Dutch and Lillian Cordell, builders of community. 3 months after the trial, an elderly man knocked on my door, introduced himself as Bernard C.S. Jr. My father co-founded Lakewood with your grandfather. I brought these. He handed me a box. Original blueprints, photos of Dutch and Bernard Sr., letters. Discussing their vision for an affordable lake community where working families could thrive. Dad always regretted abandoning the project when he went bankrupt. He'd be glad you finished what they started. I was crying before he finished talking. Would you join the trust board? We could use someone who remembers the original dream. I'd be honored. Now I'm sitting on my rebuilt dock watching sunset paint the lake orange and pink. Emma brings me coffee, hazelnut, Lillian's favorite, and sits beside me. Worth it? She asks. Every second. Loons call across the water. Lights come on in houses around the lake. Kids laughing at the public beach. My phone buzzes. Email from a stranger in Montana. HOA stole my ranch. Can you help? Here we go again, I mutter. Emma grins. Dad, you're not a professional HOA vigilante. Not yet. She laughs. I laugh. The lake ripples in the breeze. Dutch built this place for community, for family, for something bigger than profit. And now it's everything he dreamed it could be. Got an HOA horror story? Drop it in the comments. The worst one gets featured in my next video. Subscribe and hit the bell because somebody's got to hold these clipboard tyrants accountable.